All right, welcome to Real Estate Fight Club. And today we are going to talk about how to craft your unique selling proposition. What makes you stand out? Here with me today is Coach John Kitchens of the Coach Code podcast and one of our coaches. Hey, John.
What's up? How are you?
Good. I'm excited because I think this is a topic. It's like, well, aren't we kind of like all the same? Don't we kind of all do the same thing? But as this market shifts, it feels like you have to know your value proposition, right?
Right. You absolutely do. It's the you know, how do you stand out and not fall into being a commodity? And when
That's
you
why it's important. That's the
that's why it's
critical
so important.
thing, right? Yeah.
Absolutely, because when you get grouped into that bucket, then it usually now comes down to price.
Nice. Right.
And what we always have to remember in the absence of value is when people question price. And
Ooh.
so we have to be able to articulate our value in a way that connects with our ideal client so that they see that we are capable and more qualified to help them achieve whatever desired outcome they're looking to achieve. And so, Jen, a couple things that we have to kind of consider and think about when we're kind of crafting what this value proposition is it's easy to just kind of model and look at, well, they're doing that. That could be my value proposition too. However, where we're really the most valuable, and I heard this on Ed Milet's podcast. He had Rory Vaden on with Brand Builders, and Rory kind of stunned Ed with what he said. And he said, we are most qualified to serve the person we once were. And
Oh,
so
that makes sense.
when you stop and think about that for a second and you think about your journey, your life, the things that you have had to overcome,
Right.
and it's easier for you to tap into that because that's more authentic, more genuine, and more to our natural gift and our ability, because we all have it. Everybody has a unique superpower, and it's being able to just do the work to figure out what that is. And then how can you use that superpower to help people solve whatever it is they're trying to solve. So
Right.
here we are talking about in the world of residential real estate sales.
Mhm.
And we've got buyers, we've got sellers, investors, builders. You could even say, hey, I'm trying to recruit some people to my team. I need some new team members. So you got a value proposition there. And everybody's is a little bit different. We would have team members. I know you love working with homeowners that tried to sell, that failed to sell, because
Right.
you have a value proposition to help them actually get their home sold.
Right.
But I also know agents that love to work with first time home buyers,
Oh
because
God, stop.
I
Don't do.
know, right? I think that, you think that, but there are people out there, because this goes back to who they once were.
Right.
They had a horrible experience in their first time home buying experience. Maybe that drove them into real estate because they're like, I know I can do a better job, and I don't want anybody to have to go through what I went through. And so that becomes their value proposition, because maybe they're an educator. They maybe have them more patience. Maybe they're, informative. They want to really inform the new homeowner what their strategy and process really should be, so that they buy the home right. They set themselves up. They think about all of the future home ownership responsibilities, right? They're able to go deep down that path, but everybody's is a little different. So, Jim, what the first thing that I would say is, okay, well, who who do I want to help,
Yeah.
right?
Who do I want to serve?
What problems do I want to solve? And everybody has a unique, different problem. For you, somebody that's trying to sell their home that failed to sell, what their problem is,
Right.
and you're qualified to go in and help them solve that problem.
Right.
And I think that's where you got to kind of step back for a second and say, okay, what problem in this industry do I want to solve?
Hmm.
That's where you have to start.
I like that. So let's walk down the path and let's say, okay, I would say most agents are more, at least initially, suited to serve buyers, right? So we'll say we could just do the first time home buyer. Now let's do something else. That'll make me angry. I'm already
that,
angry. You know what
that'll
I
make you
mean?
even more angry.
All right, let's say that it's like a specific part of town or something like that, right?
Sure.
So how do we craft our unique selling proposition around, okay, so I grew up in this part of town, I live in this part of town, I know the most about this part of town. So if you are looking to buy or sell in this part of town, I can help you because.
I think there has to be a level of knowledge and awareness of the market,
Okay.
and really becoming a student of that market down into the trenches, not the 30,000, not the 15,000. I mean, down in the trenches, the ground level understanding of what's going on in the market. You know, who are the builders? Maybe those homes were built in the 40s, 50s, 60s. Do you know how they were built? What they were built? Who's doing the rehab process on these in this area? What's coming? How connected are you with the economic development committee? What are they trying to do with the neighborhood? Right? Like getting down into there, because depending upon the neighborhood, some people understand, and especially when you get into the older, more neighborhoods in the neighborhood beautification and just certain
Right. Like
neighborhoods have those
historic
little.
preservations and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Even then into, you get into, the communities that are emerging, that have, new construction with these master plan communities, and who
Right.
are all the builders, what's the difference in the builders. And so really understanding, what the product is, one, also knowing what really is happening with the market in that
Mm-hmm.
neighborhood. Because
Mm-hmm.
as you know, I mean, 10 minutes away, I mean, the market could be completely different than what it
Street by
is
street,
where you're at.
some in some neighborhoods, but I like this. And it really also lends itself to the conversation we've also been having about niching down and how that actually expands your clientele versus like takes it away, right? So once you know who you want to serve as you're developing your value proposition, you know what their questions are so you can solve their problem. You also now have your marketing platform. You know what to talk about.
Right.
Boom, boom, you're done. No, just kidding. That's it. So easy. It's so simple.
You got to keep tweaking and looking for what hook or what offer resonates with that particular client in that particular neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we've historically, for us, one of our, pillars of our business had always been the guaranteed sale, right? Your home sold in 59 days guaranteed, or we'll buy it. That was us. I mean, the guys in Lawton still run it to this day. That's been the message for 20 years, and
Yeah.
kind of our pillar in that market. And did it work over the last few years? Yes, because it connects with distressed sellers,
Okay.
people that are in a distressed situation or about to be in a distressed situation. And distress they could have equity, but they're about to be in a stressful time because they're on a time crunch.
Right.
And so that's where that message, 59 days, people can get their head around it. That's 2 months. And then
Very
there's a cutoff,
specific.
right?
Yeah.
Or I'll
Right.
buy it. Right. So that's in there. Obviously, it's everybody's program that runs it's a little bit different. You have your own parameters. I mean, we had our a couple guidelines that it had to check the box, to be
Of
able to
course.
apply. But that was our message to the market, because we were also investors, but we also had a pool of investors that would be willing to back that program. I mean,
Right.
Kyle in Norman, strongest cash offer. That's his message that
Yeah.
he's running. And it's the difference of a cash offer off market, cash offer on market.
Right.
And he goes through that education process. And do you want us to sell it? And this is probably what you're going to get
Mm-hmm.
percentage wise to value, versus bringing it to market. This is probably what you're going to get. You're going to expose it to more buyers. However, I'm an investor. We have an investors. We can make you this offer based
Right.
upon your goals. That might not be what's best for you, or
Right.
based upon your goals, this might be what is best for you. And
Well,
so you,
and
you
you're
have that
talking about
message.
like you don't necessarily have to come up with something that is you can take from other people, right? And make it your own too.
Right.
If you're having trouble, what are other things that you can do if you're having trouble figuring out like what do you like for me, I always knew like my unique value proposition was the marketing aspect. Like we did more than everybody else. Everybody else just put the sign in the yard, put it on the MLS, pray to God it sold, right? but we prospected for buyers for the property. Like we made outbound calls, we did door knocking, we did all these, we called the agents, we did these things. That's like nobody else is going to do that.
Right.
But how, if you're not a person that really knows, or maybe you don't do like something that maybe you only do like what other people do, how do you figure out what your value proposition is? Like
Yeah, I mean,
specifically, what questions
I
do you
love, I
ask?
love the marketing thing, right? You know,
Mhm.
we find homes that we find homes for sale that nobody else can,
Yeah.
and so what does that mean,
What does
right?
that
Well,
mean? What do you have to
is,
do?
is
Hmm.
that we listen to what it is exactly you're looking for. We identify, because we know the market better than anybody else. We identify where those properties are, where
Right.
what that product looks like, and then we outbound go aggressively find that property.
Right.
And so that's a value proposition.
Right.
How are you differentiating yourself than the other agent, like you said, that's just gonna maybe put a sign in the yard, or do run a couple ads here or
Minimum.
there or whatever, but
Right.
not really looking for what's off market to be able to go get that. And I think that is, with the inventory levels of where they're at,
Right.
um, I think that has to be part of, if you do want to work with buyers, right? I
Yeah.
believe that that has to be part of your strategy to help them get into and find homes that are not available.
Well, and I think too, what's important is that it also can be simple. It could be one simple thing. Like once you identify who the target is, like you said first, you know what their problems are or their problem, you could just pick the solution to that problem, and that's the value. And it doesn't have to be this like grandiose thing, right? It can be easy.
Yeah. It doesn't, don't, you don't have to complicate it. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
And I think, getting back to fundamentally, what do sellers want? Sellers want the most amount of money that you can put in their pocket. What do buyers want? Buyers want the cheapest payment that they can get. Fundamentally, that is it. Don't overcomplicate it. At the root of it all, whatever their objectives, whatever their goals, you know, you're talking to somebody trying to sell their home. They want the most amount of money they can in their pocket. I don't care what they tell you. They want the most amount of money in their pocket.
Right.
Buyer over here, they want the least amount of money coming out of their pocket. Even if they
Right.
pay all cash for it, they still got
Right.
utility cost. They still have, is there HOA tied to it, right? How much money is actually going to come out of their pocket
Yeah.
if they buy this house? And so you can listen to what their goals are and their objectives, but understand, no matter what, you got to help them put the most amount, and you got to save them the most amount over here.
I love it. So, as a coach, I know you have like a lot of worksheets and different things. Is there anything that you can offer the listeners to kind of like help them flush this out?
I think kind of going through the clarity report is
Yeah,
probably one of the most powerful exercises that they could do for where
their
they're at
business.
right now. Because I
Yeah.
think, Jen, this, there's a lot of agents that are either trying to launch, but a lot of people are really trying to relaunch their real estate business and their real estate career.
Hmm.
They just, the market allowed for a deficiency in skill.
Hmm. That's a
Maybe,
nice way to put it. I was thinking laziness, but okay.
and it created bad habits. Now,
Yeah.
were there some skills developed that were useful for the time? Yes. However, those skills are not probably going to serve agents very well right now.
Yeah.
And it's actually getting back into the skills that were required, 4 or 5 years ago,
Right.
before what happened over the last few.
Hmm.
So I think revisiting the skills that are required right
Yeah.
now,
Right.
but that relaunch process, and it all has to start with clarity. And you've got
Yep.
to get crystal clear on what it is that you goal. What are you trying to acquire? So
Right.
I think the best thing that anybody can go through right now is taking a little bit of time, reflective time, and maybe it is, pain and reflection is progress. So maybe kind of just sitting back and like, what pains have I encountered? Where am I struggling, or where was I struggling, or what am
Right.
I not happy with? And kind of that reflection process, go through the clarity report, and it'll really kind of get you thinking back on, okay, what do I want to really achieve? What do I really want? And that's really where, Jen, comes down to, what am I willing to commit to? And
Right.
the commitment's everything.
That's like one of the hardest things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So so you have the podcast called Coach Code.
Yep, Coach
Um,
Code Podcast. We're everywhere you can find you enjoy listening to the podcast platforms. I would go there. Obviously, you can go to coachcode.com. You can get access to the Clarity Report through there. But yeah, that Jen, I think, is probably one of the most powerful exercises that any of your listeners can go through.
awesome. Well, I appreciate you being on. Thanks, John.
Absolutely. Always love it. See ya.
Yeah.